Well, we're really excited to bring everyone together today. As you heard Danielle and Elena say, that this has been a dream for them, and this has also been a dream for us to put together a women's empowerment conference run by real women who are chasing the grind every single day and literally in the process of building their rock star career. So we hope to share a lot of knowledge with you guys today. And before I introduce this panel, I would just love to introduce myself as your moderator for the panel today. Like I said, my name is Joyce Chen. I am the marketing director for MARCA PROSECCO. And in addition to that, I'm also a certified life coach. And when I'm not working, you'll also find me traveling, writing, or being a mom to my dear fur baby, whose birthday is today back at home. She's a little Frenchie, I know. So it's okay, I'll FaceTime her later. But what I really wanted to focus on today is I want to talk about us. I want to talk about how awesome this group of women are in this room. As you guys probably realized as you were networking around the room, you probably met some pretty incredible women, all within this group. Some of you guys are entrepreneurs, some of you are small business owners, a lot of you guys also work in corporations, both big and small. But what's fantastic is a lot of you guys have a lot of talent and are in different stages of your career, and you are really helping make every woman rise already today. I know that there's a lot of bad news out there about women in the workplace that we're changing, but I want to share some positive stats with you just to see how far you guys have come. So today, what's really exciting is that women-owned businesses are now growing 5 times faster than the national average of businesses today, which is pretty exciting. Internationally, also, women make up about 1/3 of all entrepreneurs worldwide, which is a pretty big deal, and we have a few of them on the stage here. In 2018, over 50% of women actually held positions in management and professional occupations, which is also really exciting. It's 51.8 exactly if you wanted to keep track, which is very exciting. And then lastly, the number of women who are earning degrees has quadrupled in the past 2 decades. That's a huge achievement. And that's something you guys should all be proud of, because a lot of people in this room contribute to those stats today. But if we think about where the opportunity areas are, and we think about what we still need, there are some key things. Even though we still face challenges, the top 3 things we still need today are funding, mentorship, and support. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I feel like we all have pretty good girlfriends, girl gangs, and people we can lean on. So when I heard those 3 stats, I thought that was really, really shocking. How could we still need those 3 things as resources today? And I think that's a part of what makes this conference really, really powerful, because we're trying to tackle all 3. Now, the funding may come in the form of a $500 gift card, so hopefully one of you guys wins that today. We're going to get some mentorship and support, and we're going to get that a lot from this lovely panel that's right beside me. So what I'd love to do right now is introduce you to our panel. So starting over to my right, I've got Miss Katie Sturino. Katie is a multifaceted entrepreneur, and she is the co-founder of MEGABABE, as well as a style blog called 12ish Style. What's really special about Katie is she is a pioneer for body positivity and inclusivity, which is really exciting, and she's inspired many, many women of many shapes and styles. And then next to her, over to my right, I have Miss Joy Ofodu.
Oh, hey!
Joy is a brand marketing coordinator at Instagram, and she actually played a pivotal role in a major campaign at Instagram called Share Black Stories. What's really exciting about Joy is she specializes a lot in communication, and she bridges that gap between a passion project as well as professionalism within a large corporation. And then over to my left, I have the lovely Luvleen Sidhu.
Hello, everyone.
Luvleen is the founder of Bank Mobile, and what's really exciting is at the age of 28, she pioneered creating a mobile banking company that was digital only and was really focused on serving low and middle income families, which is really exciting. I think the other unique perspective that Luvleen brings to our panel is that she really had to pioneer in a very male-dominated industry, so she'll talk a bit about that today, which is very exciting. And then over to her left, I have Miss Danielle Moss, who is one of the co-founders of the Everygirl. Before the Everygirl, Danielle actually launched a series of ventures. She's literally tried it all, from portrait photography to entrepreneurial. So she was sort of a serial entrepreneur before she started the Everygirl. And she's going to talk a lot about the journey and talk about how to, pivot and change paths as you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your careers. And then lastly, we have the lovely Allison Trammell. Allison is the editorial director of the Everygirl, and she manages a team of 10 people across the U.S., which is very exciting. What is also very special about Allison is she truly embodies a story of grit and hard work. In fact, she battled 500 applicants to get one coveted intern spot at the Everygirl with a very, very special personal branded video. So she's going to teach you guys how to really stand out and get yourself noticed, especially in a big world out there. So thank you, ladies, all for joining me this morning. I'm really excited to have you all. So starting off, I'd actually love to start with Danielle. And Danielle, I think what's really, really impressive about you is you started a lot of series of ventures before you partnered up with Elena to start the Everygirl. And I think a lot of people here know the Everygirl story. Everygirl now has over 500 million page views a year. You have over 12 full-time employees, which is really exciting. And before you partnered up with Elena, though, you had tried lots of different things. And sometimes you said you felt maybe a little bit lost in that journey and trying to figure it out. So how did you keep your sense of self-confidence going while you're going through that process?
Man, it was really hard. I worked in product placement and film for a while, and it wasn't my thing. And I didn't love it. I wasn't passionate about it. And, I felt really stuck. In my 20s, before I moved to Chicago, I was living in LA and struggling. And I had this graphic design business, but I majored in sociology, so I really had no idea what I was doing. But I fell into designing blogs, and it was really a struggle and a lot of not feeling like I knew how to do my job or like I could get it to the place where I wanted to. But I knew that I needed a big change and I needed to do something different. And I think for me, throughout the struggle, the big thing was knowing one day I was going to do something and I was going to, it's surreal to be here, but that I would have a daughter and she would have a friend that would need help. Or I would meet someone that was struggling and I'd be able to help them and share my story when I figured it out. So the fact that we now have the Everygirl and I can be behind a site that is able to inspire women every day, it's the dream.
I think that's really exciting, and I think what's interesting about your profile too was kind of getting over that fear. How did you get over that fear and said, I'm going to go for it?
I hit not rock bottom, sounds really dark because it wasn't like that at all, but I hit this place of if I don't do something, my life is not going to go anywhere. And I knew that I couldn't afford to live in LA on my own, so I picked a city where I didn't need a car and I could make it work. I think the big thing was just getting to a point after years of letting it go and years of kind of feeling so stuck. It was this, I had a good week of crying in bed before making the move, and but I just knew I knew I needed a change. And honestly, it really was just that it felt like time, and it took a good decade to get there, but I did. And then of course, I met Elena within the first year of moving here, and we launched the Everygirl, and it wasn't this place of fear then. It was really, I knew it was time for something new, and I would have been more afraid to fall into something that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I had to take the chance and at least try.
I think that's really courageous and brave, and thank you for sharing that with us. I think when I think about your journey, Katie, if we could talk a little bit about you, the leaving what feels safe and leaving what feels expected is sometimes really hard, especially if you're trying something entrepreneurial, trying something new. Katie, what's unique about you is before MEGABABE, you actually spent 10 years in PR. You also spent a considerable amount of time managing your dog's Instagram account, Toast, which is very famous. Toast got married. For those of you who don't know, Toast got married on The Real Housewives of New York. Very exciting. But you had that corporate job. You had what probably felt safe. And then you shifted. Can you tell us about that and how you started MEGABABE and how you started your blog and what that was like?
Yes. Now, how many of you know who Toast was? This is not enough hands. But actually, to rewind for a second, I was working in high fashion PR. I worked at Dolce & Gabbana. I interned at Chanel. I was in the places I thought I wanted to be, but I didn't like the environment, but I liked the job. So at a very too young age of 25, I started my own PR company. So the entrepreneurial spirit has really just been in me from the start, and I wouldn't advise anyone at 25 starting anything now. But I named my company Tinder. Tinder, and then about 8 years later, Tinder, the dating app, launched, and I had to change my name. But I sold my website, which was cool, but I still had to work, which was not that cool. And I ended up like finding something, I started my own, I ended up starting an Instagram account for my dog, who was a rescue dog with her tongue out. She had no teeth. She was a very special girl, and she took off. She became a fashion dog. And I got to know what it was like to be an Instagram influencer through the eyes of the dog, which is really weird. But I was very invisible, and I was used to that because I was in PR, and that's kind of your role, to push your clients in front. And on a shoot with the man repeller for her, for NARS, for the dog and NARS, which is also weird, they asked to do a style profile on me, and I said, yeah, okay, me. But when the article came out and it was how to dress when you're curvy, essentially, this is maybe 5 years ago, I read through the comments, and all the comments had the same thread of, whoa, I love Leandra, I love fashion, but I have never seen my body on a fashion blog. And it like flipped the switch in my brain, and I thought, neither have I. Why is my body not here? Like, why do we talk to women as if they all should be size zeros? So I started the 12-ish style because my weight's always fluctuated, and so sometimes I'm a 12, a 10, an 18, and this journey is so common to many women. And anyway, so I started my blog, and then that led me to found MEGABABE, which is a women's personal care line that tackles things like boob sweat and thigh chafe.
That's a very, very unique opportunity, and I think a lot of women here will thank you for that. In addition to that, you also launched MEGAMAN as a part of that process. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
MEGAMAN? Yeah, MEGAMAN is just women sick of their boyfriends stealing their shit. And so we just decided to give something to the guys, because it's guys who are like, they're like, my husband uses a MEGABABE, but he feels weird bringing it to his construction site job. And so I'm like, all right, well, fine. We'll give you a MEGAMAN product. Yeah.
So what I love about your story, Katie, is you found a very unique opportunity, a very unique consumer opportunity, and you capitalized on that. Can you give us a quick lesson on how did you find those consumer opportunities? Was it women writing to you on your blog? Did you seek out advice? What gave you the idea from the style blog to MEGABABE?
Everything that I tend to do is from my own personal inspiration, and then going and looking out into the market and seeing what's there. So for the thigh chafe stick, I was like, why am I using a men's stick? When I go to search, why am I finding products called D's Nuts for Her, which is a real product? And I was like, there's nothing out there to solve these problems that so many women have, that is just cute and empowering. So it's like, I check the market and make sure that I'm not going into something super flooded, and I come in with a unique point of view, hopefully. And can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Don't want to dominate the mic. No one likes that person. But 3 of you have something in your bag right now. If you check in your tote bags and you have MEGABABE wipes, they should be right at the top of your totes, then you won a full set of MEGABABE products, and you just see the woman in the back in the leopard, my sister and business partner, and she'll hook you up afterwards. Thank you, Everygirl.
Oh my gosh.
Woo!
Looks like we have some winners.
I want it to be me.
I want it to be me.
Does that include the equivalent of D's nuts for her?
Wouldn't you like to know? Yes.
Well, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing a part of your personal journey. Again, what I think is unique about you is you took a very personal experience and you took a passion project and you got to do something with it in a very entrepreneurial form. Now, for some of us, we have passion projects, but we work in larger corporations or we work in larger institutions where that might be a little harder. So I'd actually love to bridge to you, Joy, because you were part of a very important initiative called Share Black Stories. And with all your communications background, you were able to bridge not only your passion project and a platform that's very meaningful to you, but you were able to bring that into the corporate world. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how you started that conversation in the workplace? How did you even begin to pitch that in a corporate world?
Yep. I think it's important to ground it in like how I show up at work. So my mission is to empower girls in underrepresented communities on and offline. And I carry that mission with me every day. I also carry my identity with me every day. You don't really get a choice. When you're a black woman in America, you kind of carry a burden of representation with you every single place that you go. So it's like I decide how much of that I want to bring into my work, but often it's just innate. Like I'm here as myself to represent other women like me to the best of my ability and to improve the platform, particularly Instagram, for people like me. Share Black Stories is interesting because like we often talk about passion projects. And when you call something a passion project, it puts it in a place that it's really easy to discredit. You know, we don't have time for passion projects. So when we came out with Share Black Stories, which is, it's really a campaign to uplift and inspire the black community in the United States on Instagram, encouraging people to share stories of like identity and cultural pride and perseverance. This is something that we knew, we're not pitching this as a passion project. We're letting you know that it's integral to the business and it's everybody's job. One thing that we say at Facebook is like nothing at Facebook is anyone else's problem. So it's everyone's responsibility at Instagram to ensure that all communities feel safe and supported. The black community is absolutely no exception. So it was a no-brainer actually for a lot of the people on my team, for our senior leadership, up to the CMO. They couldn't wait to see it happen. And we set out with the hashtag. We launched it in February during Black History Month. Since then, we've had 21,000 community contributions with folks like Michelle Obama and Ilhan Omar just organically joining in. And so this was an awesome signal for us that like it's everyone's job. We're all going to chime in. And when you do that, when you uplift communities, especially underrepresented communities, it benefits everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think what was great too is your determination and grit in bringing this passion project together. So for those of you that don't know, if you're working in Instagram and playing with Instagram stories, there's a Share Black Stories sticker that you can actually add into your stories. Joy, can you tell us the unique role you played in getting that sticker uploaded? Because I think this is a great example of really following through on your passion project.
Yeah, that's a fun story. My background, as you mentioned, is in communication. It's also in marketing and Spanish. So I study communities, I study brands. What I don't study is like AR platform and like web development, but there was kind of no one around in like an interesting situation. So I acted as both the product manager and the engineer to get that sticker out to a geo-gated United States. It was my first time ever like uploading anything directly to a major platform like this, like to something that could potentially touch 1 billion people. So that was really exciting, and I was definitely proud of myself.
So there you have it. Not only can she do communications, she also learned how to code. So that's passion right there. So let's move to you, Luvleen, because I think you also had a unique mission and a unique purpose that you wanted to bring to the corporate world. You started Bank Mobile. It's a mobile-only bank. And what I found really fascinating is that you wanted to serve underserved communities. But you're also starting up an industry that is very male-dominated. you clearly are very young and female. So how did you
That is apparent.
how did you advocate for yourself, and how did you advocate for others as you were going through this journey of starting Bank Mobile?
Sure, and I think what's helpful is having the passion, which you talked about. And I think that coming into this industry, I was trying to shake it up. Something needed to change. Banking needed to come to the 21st century. And I think that my appearance, being a young woman, minority, that in essence was shaking things up. And I think it was actually in alignment with what I was trying to do. So I came in as a force that was really in alignment with my business and my passion. So I think people took notice. So I almost thought in a way like this was one of the benefits of actually, being differentiated, being different, being woman, being younger. And so I think it served me. At the same time, it's very difficult being with sort of stodgy old bankers, and they look and they feel like just what you would imagine. And to be able to change their mindset that this industry needs to change. The legacy systems have to change. Screwing people over has to change. The reality is that Americans, a third of them are living paycheck to paycheck. Almost 50% of Americans can't pay for a $400 emergency, yet these big banks are charging Americans $34 billion a year in just overdraft fees. So if you believe in something and you have a passion sort of driving behind your business, people listen, people respect it, they hear you, and you have a voice. And so that was really helpful in being recognized and sort of breaking through an industry that may not have been open to me initially.
Yeah. I love what you said in terms of being a force that is in alignment with your business and passion. I think that's really exciting, and I think one of the commonalities that you can see on stage is a lot of these founders combined their business with a passion point, whether it's body inclusivity, representation, serving underserved communities. What I'd love to talk about is some of the challenges you guys had to go through in making that happen, because obviously they're all successful in their own ways right now, but there are probably some tough times that you guys all had to get through in order to get there. Luvleen, for you specifically, what were some of the challenges you had to overcome, especially given that it seems like a lot of the cards are stacked against you in your industry?
Yeah, I think that we all go in with a certain vision and mission of what we want to achieve. And I wanted to create a consumer brand around banking. Banking is not a sexy industry. It's not like, hey, people, I'm excited. I want to start banking with Bank Mobile. But it's really foundational to your life. And so it's so important to try to bridge that gap and actually make it something people are engaged with and are excited about. But anyway, I wanted banking and Bank Mobile to be a bank that you love, and that there's that affinity with it. And that's what I started out with. And I realized that that was very difficult. And that was very difficult for me to swallow, because that was what I wanted to do. Because I really felt that what we were doing was so helpful to people and could financially empower millions. So I think that was a setback, because we weren't profitable that way. We weren't gaining enough momentum. And so we had to pivot about 2 years in, otherwise the business may have gone under, to a new strategy. And the strategy that we're doing today is through, it's called B2B2C. So partnering with the right partners to be able to access customers in high volumes so that our acquisition cost is low and we can still sell the product that we truly believe in and that we created. So we're doing that today. We have relationships with 800 campuses across the country. 1 in every 3 college-bound students goes to one of those schools, so it's huge brand awareness for Bank Mobile. We also recently launched with T-Mobile, and they've launched a checking account called T-Mobile Money through Bank Mobile. And so now we have access to millions of customers, and I got to achieve the original vision, but through a very different channel play than I had anticipated. So what I learned, I guess, is that it's okay to pivot. You can still reach your end goal and vision, and to keep going and to sort of not give up in that process.
Yeah, I think the best thing that you always have in life is a choice, right? And so the fact that you were so open to pivoting, I love one of my team members, what does she call this? She's back there. She calls it a plot twist. And just like you just kind of embrace the plot twist and you go, which is awesome. Yeah. So I think that definitely is a strong key to success, and that's something that we should probably all keep in mind whenever we encounter challenges. So I'd love to jump back over to you, Katie. what's one specific challenge or a particular objective that showed up in your life that maybe you weren't expecting that you had to overcome in order to get to the success that you have today?
I would say I got a divorce about 3.5 years ago, and it was a real moment in my life where I was just starting my blog and I was kind of retiring from PR, and I think the choice was I could like just shut down and like deal with my divorce and just like take everything slow and just see where life took me, or I could turn all that anxiety and the sleepless nights and the waking up at 4 a.m. and like the long weekends with nothing to do because you have like a whole new life to figure out. And I turned that kind of pain and emotional loss into business, basically. And I was like, I got to do something. So that's how I started MEGABABE and the timeline that I started MEGABABE, because I just needed and had the emotional availability to put everything I had into a business, and what came out on the other side is better than I could have imagined.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that that can be a very painful personal journey, but what I think is fantastic about that is you took that and you took that energy and you put that into MEGABABE, and obviously you've turned out in a fantastic place right now. So hopefully the audience can get the lesson there that even though there are some setbacks that happen personally or professionally, there's always a way to overcome that, and there's always a way to pivot and change. So thank you for sharing that with us, which is very exciting. Well, what I'd also love to pivot to next is talking about how to stand out in our identities in the corporate world. And obviously all of you ladies here represent that in some way, shape, or form. I'd love to jump to Allison, because I'm sure a lot of people would know. How exactly did you battle 500 applicants for one coveted intern spot with the Everygirl? And really, can you walk us through how you made that happen and that confidence? Because I think a lot of us here would say, oh, you don't want to step out too far of the box, but I want to be noticeable enough. I think that's a challenge that a lot of us sometimes face in the corporate world. How did you do it?
So before the Everygirl, I found myself in this rut in college where I was working food service jobs, Target during the holidays, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, Starbucks. I did a stint as a maid, but I was too slow and got fired. Like, I had these jobs, and they weren't necessarily what I wanted to be doing or going in a direction, but I could not even get an interview to get into an office, because they were like, oh, you're fast food, you're food service, you're not qualified for this. So in my mind, I was like, I just need to get to the first office. If I can get to the office, I can get to the next office, and so forth. And so I got an interview to work in a physician's office, and I walked in, and I was like, I know I'm not qualified for this. I know that I don't want to go into the medical industry, but no one will work as hard for you as I will, and I'm willing to do anything. And he just looked at me and he was like, wow, you're hired. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So then once I got that position, I was at least working a 9 to 5. I kind of, was in a more direction that I wanted to be in. So when the Everygirl, who I was a longtime reader of Elena and Danielle's and waited up until 2 a.m. when the site launched, I was a big fan, and they posted that they were having a remote internship, and I was in Texas in a small town going to school, and there weren't a lot of options available to me, and I was like, this is my chance. So I turned in my application and I waited, and the deadline got closer and closer, and I was like, they're not gonna pick me. Why would they pick me? I have no experience, what did I do before that got me that opportunity? And I was like, I just need to get in front of them and tell them that I will work hard for them. So I got this idea in the middle of the night, as one does, and I was like, I'm gonna write them a letter, and I made this graphic, and I was like, I want my email to be the last one, 11:59 on the cutoff of the job, so that when they open their inbox in the morning, it's me at the top. And this is all at night. So I'm like thinking this is a really good idea. And maybe if this had come to me at 3 p.m., I would have been like, calm down. But it was 11:50, and I was like, you can do it. So I made this whole graphic, and I wrote them this letter, and I sent this email that said, 10 reasons why you should hire me. And it was very personal, and it explained all the reasons that I would work really hard for them. And I hit send, didn't hear anything, was like, oh well, there goes my craziness. And then got an email from Danielle that was like, when can you start? We want to meet you. And so I think that it's not just about getting the job, but then also following through with that passion every single day. Because I interned at the time, I was working full time, I was going to school, and then I had this internship, I was working for free, and I showed up to that internship every single day like it was my full-time job. Like sleep, no problem, boyfriend, don't care. All I care about this is my chance to really make something. And I worked really hard and never said no if they told me to do something. I Googled it or I figured it out. This was back in the day. This was before Instagram, and I was making spreadsheets tracking our social growth and what I wanted to do, and they were like, wow, you're just an intern, it's okay. And I was like, no. And so I think it's not only about getting the job and standing out, but then showing up every day and really living true to whatever you promise them in the interview, because that's just a moment in time, but once you have the job, that's where the real work kicks in.
That's absolutely.
I just want to say really quick, it wasn't just what she would do for us, but what stood out in Allison's email. I opened the email and I called Elena and I said, we have her. And she read the email and we knew. She not only told us what she would do for our company and why she would be great, but she got us. And I think that was the big thing. This was I know who you are, I know what you're about, I know what your mission is and what your passion is, and I share that with you, and I get you. And I think that's what helped her really stand out. Just wanted to.
That's awesome. Personal branding is a very big deal. It's something we actually talk about a lot on our teams. You should know exactly what your personal brand is, what you stand for. In fact, if you could list 3 words about yourself, you should absolutely be able to recite that off the top of your head. Because if you're ever pitching yourself to anybody from a business perspective, job perspective, how you can contribute to teams, knowing your personal brand in 3 words is awesome and great. And it sounds like you did that, Allison, and you won them over very quickly. And I know that they think the world of you and they speak of you very, very highly in terms of everything you're willing to do for the Everygirl, which is exciting. So coming back to you, Joy, and talking about personal identity and personal branding, you obviously are a brand in yourself. For those of you that have not checked out her Instagram, she's fantastic. How do you balance that in a corporate world? Because I think that's something that a lot of us try to figure out. How much of myself am I allowed to be at work where it's acceptable versus how much of myself do I push out there so people know who I am? How do you balance that?
First, thanks. That's so sweet. Who's heard, like, bring your authentic self to work? Like, hands up. You've heard that before? And then who feels actually empowered and comfortable to do it at work? Oh, no, don't say no one. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, it's one person. Thanks. Instagram is, I'll just say, a magical place. Like, the company culture matches what's on the platform as far as like freedom of expression. So I'm really lucky in that. I really do feel like I can show up to work as myself. And I try to bring me, I bring me without trying. It's like it's in equal parts. But also like there are 2 things I don't compromise on. And one of them is like my health. So I will never, you talked about like not sleeping. That was a big sort of failure I would consider like in my sort of like earlier days and internships and things, that I was always willing to sacrifice my health, my mental health or physical well-being to get the job done. I no longer think that's worth it. I'm like a vehement advocate against that. Ariana Huffington, sleep revolution, all that. So one is my health, but the other one is like the truth. So that like no matter how I'm showing up, where I'm showing up, I'm always going to be honest. I'm not going to show up in the workplace, sit at a table, hear something that I don't agree with, and just sit quietly and smile for the sake of being accepted or for the sake of getting the project through. If I feel it in my gut, I'm going to speak up, I'm going to say something. If they don't like it, then that's not where I belong. And I've always felt like I belong everywhere because I'm walking in that truth. no matter where I am. So the kind of reviews that I get in my like performance summary at Instagram or at Facebook, those words are similar to how my friends would describe me. Like, you're not getting a different Joy online versus offline, and my friends wouldn't describe me different than my boss or my manager. Like, literally, if you guys log into my story right now, I'm twerking in my towel on my way to the conference. That's just like who I am. I'm bringing myself and my energy. My manager and everyone follows me, coworkers, etc. We're living in an interesting time where this online personal branding thing means that you're just hyper visible. So you can negotiate it by putting a little dash of you here and a drop of you there, but I think it's mentally straining and draining. So instead of doing that, instead of trying to piece yourself and dish it out where you think it's going to be accepted, just bring all of you everywhere. Walk in that truth, live in that truth, and it's so much more fun.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Hopefully that's helpful advice for you guys when you think about how to show up. We are changing. It is a changing and dynamic world, and your own personal brand is just as important as the brands that you work for. So thank you for sharing that. I'd love to jump back over to you, Danielle. And given that you're a mom and you have a husband and you have a daughter, what do you say to people who say you can't have it all? You're working at a startup or you're working for a company, you're a mom. What do you say to people who say you can't have it all in life?
Well, those people suck. No one has said that to me, and if someone does, they should not be in your life, and that's not supportive. Here's the thing. I think that you can have everything you want. You can absolutely have it all. It's how you manage it. And I think we spent so much time. I don't still spend time doing this. I was always like, I'm just trying to find that balance. And I feel like, how many of you have talked about finding balance? It's, wow, okay, so people are just over it for the most part. That's great. So I feel like I spent years trying to find balance. And I think the big thing is, you can have everything, but just know, like, there are periods where it's gonna be a little crazy and it's gonna ebb and flow, and it's really about having support, having an amazing team. So I can't take credit. The Everygirl is not mine, it's all of ours. We have this amazing team. That is why the site is great. I have an amazing business partner. That is why the site is great. I have a baby. I also have a nanny, and I have a husband who co-parents with me. That is how I have a baby. And single moms, rock stars, strongest people in the world, they do it with support, though. That is the only way to get by, I think, in every facet of your life. So you can have everything you want. It's just about having the right support system.
Yeah. What I think is also great, too, is you ask for help. And you're not afraid to ask for help. And I think that sometimes a lot of women today, we're afraid to ask for help. We're afraid to reach out or ask for those resources, whether it be from girlfriends, partners, best friends, parents. But I think it's great that you embrace that. Luvleen, what I'd love to touch base with you on is from a personal balance perspective, you're also a certified nutrition coach. And you do that on the side because you needed to find that balance in your life as well. What brought you to that? What inspired you to do that? And do you have any tips you can share with everyone here on how to manage yourself personally while you are hustling?
Yeah, so I'm a certified health coach, and I did it not because I'm practicing, because I have no time to practice, but I did it because I felt that I had to get my life in control and my health in control, and I wanted to educate myself and equip myself with the tools and understanding to take control in that aspect of my life. So I took an online course. It's the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, so any of you guys can do it from your couch, and it was life-changing for me. And it's the basics of, drink water, eat healthy, exercise, invest in your personal relationships. And it's like the basics, but to remember the basics on a daily basis is what's important. And what helps you do that is to create structure and routine. And especially for me, maybe everyone's different, for me it's the morning. I think a morning ritual. So today, even though I'm super busy, I make sure that the morning is for me. I start out with my lemon water. It's hot with some honey, and I do, for Buddhist meditation, it's a chanting practice for me, and it helps raise my life condition. And to start your day with high energy, I'm a believer that you attract the energy level that you exude. And so it's so important for me to energize myself in the morning through my meditation practice, to spend some time in gratitude. actively and the why behind why I'm feeling grateful, and then to pivot my mind about where I want to go. What is my intention for the day? What do I want to accomplish for the day? And this is a thing I stole from Tony Robbins, and it works for me. And it's then celebrating and visualizing that you actually get that outcome and celebrate that you've already achieved it. And starting out with that mindset of winning for the day with high energy is what keeps me going sort of through the day and has been very helpful for me.
I love that you talk about celebrating the outcome. That's really important. I think a lot of times we're so worried about how do we chase that goal, how do we get there. We don't take enough time to celebrate. In fact, a national study shows that about only 38% of us actually celebrate our wins every single day. And what's actually great is in your pamphlets, we've included a framework for you there on how to celebrate your small wins so that you actually get more momentum and positivity to continue on in your careers. So I'd love to ask the whole panel this question. What do you guys do to celebrate your wins every day? Katie, do you want to kick us off?
I don't know. I'm celebrating quite a lot. I'm an easy celebrator. How's that? So like, I'm down to just be like, let's take a trip. Let's like do this. Like, I don't know. I'm just into celebrations, and I don't have like a real consistent way to do it with my team. My team is less into celebrations. So it's, I am the celebration leader of the group.
Well, that's awesome. Parties at Katie's house. Joy?
Mine starts on a somber note, but ends up shiny and sunshiny, which is that in March, we lost a member of our community, someone that you see every day, never expect to leave, who died really young. He was like 21. So every day since then has been just celebrating being here. Like, it took months to actually feel I'm about to cry. It took months to actually feel the sun on my skin again, but the fact that I celebrate that. I celebrate being here. I celebrate connecting with women. I celebrate when you walk by your bed and you don't knock your ankle on the side. I celebrate catching the train. Like, I'm like you, it's easy to celebrate just because we're here, right? And then I think secondly is the practice. I write down my intentions every day. Like, just intentions instead of to-do list. Intentions. What do I want to feel like at the end of the day? What do I want to hit spiritually, physically? And then when I don't hit every one of those tasks on my intentions or to-do, I don't punish myself for it. I'm just like, good job, you tried. You knocked off 3 out of 12. All right, girl. You knocked off 9 out of 16. You go. And I celebrate that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Luvleen, you talked a little bit about your celebration, so I'm going to jump over to Danielle. How do you celebrate?
So I really try to just take a moment each day. I don't, you know, it's not every single day, but I really am trying to be better about it. And I think really our team and Margot, I feel so bad just leaving my husband out, but really our team and my daughter, I just think like seeing her and knowing how lucky I am to have her and that she's healthy, because that in itself is a miracle. To just have this healthy, perfect little baby, and just getting to work with really amazing women. You know, I have these like little pockets of moments. I am also like a serial celebrator. I was just talking to Elaine about this, and like August 13th, 2011 was when we had our first meeting to discuss the Everygirls. She's like, oh, you're cute. But I'm like, we forgot to celebrate this year. Like, I love looking back on anniversaries. Every August 1st, that's when I moved to Chicago. Every February 22nd, that's when we launched the Everygirls. So like, I love an anniversary. So I think just really taking time to just look at how far you've come, to look at where you were, and to think about where you'll go, and just to see something even in your everyday life of like, wow, I never thought I'd be able to own a home. That was not a thing that I thought was reality for me in my early 20s. And just like, there are these moments, you know, I'll just walk by and look at something or see our team together, or, I mean, this, as good as it gets. But yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Allison?
I love to announce my celebration because I want other people to join in. So like when we hit a goal or anything, I'm always the first one to jump on and be like, we did it. And so the way that I kind of translate that into being a manager is I reach out and I say thank you. Like, thank you for doing this. Like, it may have just been a goal or something expected of you, but I'm always like, thank you, because without you, we wouldn't have gotten there. And I even do that with my husband. I'm like, thank you for being so patient with me the other day. You know, whatever it is. So not only celebrating myself, but also celebrating others. And then when it's just me, I take myself out to eat. I always reward myself with cheese. So after I've announced it, I'm normally eating cheese.
That's awesome. I love that you celebrate your team, especially since a lot of your team is remote, right? They're in a ton of different places, and so
Most are here, but
but that's a great way to keep teams connected, especially if they are remote, is to make sure you celebrate them and you bring their best traits to life, which is great. So the next group question I'd love to ask the team is, what do you wish, if you were to tell your younger self something before you encountered the success that you have today, what did you wish you knew when you were younger, if you could tell yourself that today?
Oh, wow. I think, and I was telling some people earlier, I think you think when you graduate or when you get to a certain point in life, whether it's 25 or 30 or whatever, you see other people around you doing things and you compare and you think, I should be doing this. I'm from the South, and so by the time I was 23, most of my friends were married, on their way to their first kid, and I was still doing my victory lap in college and moving to Los Angeles with $300 and a prayer that I wouldn't get a flat tire on the way. So like, I was always just behind, and I learned to embrace it, moving to Los Angeles, which is the polar opposite, where no one even gets in a committed relationship till they're 37. So like, it was kind of both sides, but I learned to kind of embrace that, like, I am on my own path, you are on your own path, and rather than letting it drive a wedge between my friends or the people around me, I really embraced them for advice and kind of, you know, I may not be married, but now that I am, I get to go to my friends who have been married for 7 years and say, tell me what you wish you would have known. So I wish I could go back and tell myself when I was younger and I was crying and I felt like I was behind and I needed to catch up, that there's plenty of time and you don't have to have everything figured out at any certain point. Like, we're all still figuring out different levels or different situations as we grow. That is living. That's just the journey that we're all on.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. A lot of what we talk about is you got to run your own race, right? And everything in its own time. And one of the comforting statements I sometimes find is, you're exactly where you're supposed to be in this moment right now. And when you think about that, a lot of things start to make sense. What about you, Danielle? What would you tell your younger self today?
it's multifaceted, but I think the biggest thing to not focus on timelines. I was really big on those. I had to get married at 28 and have a baby at 30 or I was gonna die. Had a baby right before I turned 36, got married at 35. I'm not dead. Life's great. So I would say to let go of timelines, to keep believing in yourself when no one believes in you, and surround yourself by people who do. This is going to sound so sad, but my family did not believe in me. I did not have supportive parents I was close to. And I was told quite the opposite of what your parents should tell you, that I wouldn't amount to anything when I was struggling. And I realized how sad that sounds. But I knew that I couldn't give up. And I moved to Chicago not knowing a soul, and I met some of the most amazing people. And I built my own family, and I have friends that would do anything for me. I would do anything for them, and these are people I've known less than a decade. And I think if there are people that don't believe in you, I had some friends back in LA that they were fine, but they weren't the most supportive, and you want people who are always in your corner. And if you don't believe in yourself, no one will, ultimately. So you are your biggest advocate, and just not to give up. We go through these moments, and things go up and down throughout our lives, and it's okay to not have it all figured out, but just to take one step. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a cross-country move, but take a step that's going to get you closer to where you want to go. Maybe it's a class, maybe it's connecting with someone new, but you never know what that one step, like where that will get you. I sat down and had coffee with Elena, and here we are.
That's awesome. Thank you. Luvleen, what would you tell your younger self?
Mine's similar to the last point that you made. I think so. I had a very sort of formal sort of educational experience. Like I went to Harvard undergrad and then I went to Wharton Business School. And the way that we were taught to think about business was that your business plan has to be like, it has to make so much sense and there should be no holes in it. And it's like over-analyzing, and preparing to such a level that it creates fear instead of action. It's like, well, this business plan will never be foolproof, so I might as well not get started. And so I think the biggest thing that I would give advice is that it took me a long time to take my first step, to take the first action. And I just read this book, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. Highly recommend it. I take it with me everywhere. And it's, transforming fear into faith. And as long as you are taking action in the direction that, feels in alignment with you, you're working your hardest and you have an intention behind it to create the greatest value, the highest good, feel supported, have faith, things will unfold with time, as you said. And so I would talk about action, feeling in alignment, and having faith. Yeah.
Thank you, Luvleen. Joy, what about you? What would you tell your younger self?
I would have said failure's okay, because I was so afraid to fail. I was like straight A student, 4.5, 8 activities, community leader, Nigerian daughter. It comes with so many different imperatives with timelines. And so I would have just told myself, it's really okay to fail. It's okay to not know. It's okay to get it wrong. You're going to, and you'll be okay on the other side. There's absolutely no way I would be sitting in this chair if I hadn't had a series of failures, right? That led to what we call marvelous mistakes, and then, revelations or lessons. So just being okay with getting it wrong, whether it's in a big way or a small way, because life goes on.
Awesome. Thank you, Joy. And Katie, if you can bring us home, what would you tell your younger self?
I think you guys covered it. I swear. It's everything that I ever would say. And that is a great book, Universe Has Your Back. Great.
Well, I again want to say thank you to all of our panelists today for sharing all their wisdom and knowledge, and thank you to all of you for spending your morning with us and taking in some of this wisdom.